Touch wood, we should be on target. I'm just keeping everything crossed.
I hope you're doing more than that, Alistair. You are supposed to be managing this project.
All the links to the offshore call centre will be in by the end of the month. The contractor assured me. Don't take my word for it. You can ask Gita for yourself. Gita? This is Gita from the IT contractor. She's one of their top engineers. Gita, I was just singing your praises. Rob Jennings, Regional Director.
So pleased to meet you.
And you? Do you live locally?
Well, just across the street, a very nice hotel. Although after 4 weeks, I'm really looking forward to going home.
It's good to have an incentive to get the job done on time.
Right. So where's home?
Mumbai, well, just outside it.
Anyway, Gita, Rob was asking whether the contract would hit the first milestone by the end of the month, and I assured him it would.
Oh, certainly, sir. We've broken the back of it, as they say.
Okay. Well, thanks. Now, I need to talk to Alistair about something, so...
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Gita. I'll catch up with you later.
Thank you.
Alistair, I'm very uncomfortable about this. You need to get onto the contractor right away. Get him to send someone else. She's not right for this job.
Someone else?
I'm afraid so.
She's brilliant at her job. I've never seen anybody diagnose and fix a system like she can.
Well, that's not reassuring me, Alistair. Quite the reverse.
I don't understand. Why?
She's a security risk. You can't be too careful.
You think she's a terrorist or something?
No, it's not like that. Nothing specific. But we have to be careful about protecting ourselves against data mining. You know what it's like in these third world countries. They'd sell their own mother for a couple of rupees. And they'd certainly sell their mother's name, address, email, password, bank details. You understand what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, Rob, but I really don't think she'd do that. What am I supposed to say to the contractor? We have no ground for complaint at all.
All I'm saying is, just get her out of here, quickly and cleanly. And get someone you can trust. It's not to do with being racist, but you have to be realistic in this day and age. I mean, we are in the information business, and we have to be cautious about protecting our data. Security has to be our business imperative. I mean, we can't afford to jeopardize that in any way. At least if you get someone who comes in here, you know they live in this country, they've been checked out. I mean, there are some places in the world, it doesn't matter. When we get contractors coming over from the States, you know them, and we can trust them, absolutely, implicitly. But India and some other third world countries, it has to be said, sometimes the temptation to make some money on the side is just too great. I mean, let's say, would you want a Nigerian in charge of your company bank accounts with all the fraud that goes on over there? Of course not. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm in a bit of a predicament at the moment. I do understand what my boss is saying. He, you know, you do think about these things, risk assessments, you know, you have to think the unthinkable. But you wouldn't actually say these things out loud. You know, you can't, can you? So, I do find Gita a, you know, good, honest worker, extremely trustworthy in my book. I'm totally on her side. But with the situation as it is, what do? Do I come clean, tell the contractor the reasons why we want to get rid of Gita, why my boss wants to get rid of Gita? Or do I go about it in another way? Do I pick holes in her work and try and get rid of her that way? If I don't do it, then Rob's going to be furious with me. If I do, then, well, I can only imagine the reaction that I'm going to get from the director of the contractors. So I really can't see a way out of this one.
If there's a problem I can help with, Alistair, that's what we as a contractor are here for. So, what can I do for you?
Well, it's a bit sensitive, actually.
Go on, I promise you I've heard it all before.
Well, the regional manager, my boss, has a problem with one of your system engineers, Gita.
I'm very surprised about that. She's one of our best people.
He wants to replace her, send in someone else.
What's she done to upset him?
Well, nothing. He thinks she might take off with his database and sell it, passcodes and all, to some Indian con merchant.
You're saying she's dishonest?
Look, I just want him off my back.
I'd like to assure you that all our staff are fully security screened. In every case, we take up extensive references. I'd really like to know what's behind his concerns. What's the basis for this?
Well, he doesn't have one, but then he doesn't need one because he's the boss. Look, he just wants her off the premises. I'm sure you can see to that, can't you?
I mean, you're asking me to do something that's against my company's policy.
Surely you could bend the rules a bit.
I don't know about this, Alistair.
It'd be a shame for this to come between us, given the amount of work we could be putting your way.
What am I going to say to Gita?
I'm sure you'll think of something.
Okay, leave it with me.
Well, at least Casey was honest with me, that's one thing. But maybe if they thought I couldn't do my job properly, it would have been less insulting. I was always brought up to be honest. I've never done anything dishonest in my life, and it really offends me. Anyway, it is their loss now. They didn't fly me here because I was cheap. It was because I was thorough and I was available at short notice and did a good job. They're now into an overrun now. And I'm not going to go back, even if they double my wages. I come from a good family. My father's also a lawyer in India. We've been brought up well. I don't know what my father would say if I told him this. Maybe living in the 21st century, you don't expect to be treated this way.
If this case went to in an employment tribunal, there are 3 people who have colluded with one another.
When the regional manager makes his request for Gita to be removed from the team, he has to use a bullying technique to ask the project manager to do it. And you also see a little bit later that when the project manager goes to the contract manager and asks the contract manager to remove this person from the team, he again uses leverage on the other manager by suggesting to her that it would be a pity if their business relationship were to break down.
This is a clear example of how easy it is to actually collude with the system, despite the fact that there are clear policies and procedures in place. And unless you've got the confidence to challenge, especially when it's your seniors, then what is a policy worth?
So the boss is not actually recognising that even if he gives the responsibility to someone else to carry out the act of asking that person to leave, he is still liable, he is still responsible.
And in this case, this is direct discrimination. It's treating somebody less favourably on the grounds of their race, and that person suffering a detriment.
The most senior officer, who is a contractor of the contracting company, could actually refuse to carry out the work that they were being contracted to do on the basis that the client was being directly discriminating against one of their employees.
The first thing that could have happened to prevent this situation, obviously, is the regional manager would choose not to act on his stereotyped view. And had he done any kind of cultural awareness training or anything like that, that's probably the line that he would have taken in terms of his development. The next person that can intervene is the project manager, because he can refuse to do something that he believes is unlawful. And thirdly, the contract manager. She can also refuse to do something that she believes is unlawful.
Ultimately, the consequences of an employment tribunal, if a company is found guilty, would be that those people who were the perpetrators would be fired, would lose their jobs, and of course the compensation elements, the huge costs that companies would incur to deal to settle the matter of racist practices taking place.
All our staff are fully security screened. Well, I'd like to know what's behind these concerns. What's the basis for this?
Well, he doesn't have one, but he doesn't need one. He's the boss. Look, he just wants her off the premises. I'm sure you can see to that, can't you?
What, because she's based in Mumbai instead of Slough, is that it?
Yeah.
Under the terms of the contract, we are obliged to replace staff who are not performing to the required standard or who are not abiding by the agreed policies and practices. But in this instant, there's no suggestion that Gita's underperforming. And she's not complying with the agreed practices. So I'm not prepared to replace her. You know, at the end of the day, I've got the good name of my company to protect. Well, and yours.
Rob, there's no reason for thinking she'd do anything like that. What do you expect me to say to the contractor?
All I'm saying is get her out, quickly and cleanly, and then get someone you trust. We can't take the risk with her.
Rob, I know Gita. And anyway, Casey's staff are always fully screened and have extensive references.
You wouldn't know what she's doing with those servers.
Well, what exactly do you expect me to say to Casey?
Well, that's up to you. You're the project manager and we are the client.
I can't just take her off a job because you don't like the look of her. That would be breaking the law.
We spent long enough going round in circles. Just do it. This is a serious risk, Alistair. There's always ways and means. Use a bit of imagination. I'm sure she's not perfect. She must make mistakes every now and again.
She doesn't. And this is not good practice. If I was to pick some fault for no reason, on your behalf, then all I would do is get us into deep trouble.
She won't take us to court. She'll just go back to India without a single peep.
She might. And Casey wouldn't leave it at that. She wouldn't want to see her company get a reputation for racist practices. And neither would I.
So what's your suggestion then? You know a better way?
I suggest we forget we ever had this conversation. I'm not prepared to do this.